Week 3, PFF forecast going live. The Green Bay Packers just overcame the clutchness of Jimmy Garoppolo to win on Sunday Night Football. We'll talk a little bit about that. But, of course, we've got to talk about the Bucs and the Chiefs both losing today, and the teams that beat them, the Rams and the Chargers. The surprising undefeated teams, two of which reside in the AFC West, and neither of them were teams that we just mentioned. And, of course, we're going to guess all the Week 4 lines. This is the PFF forecast. Let's rock. Okay. Let's start with Sunday night real quick. What a weird game. The first half, you thought, oh, maybe this is going to be a blowout.
I thought it was a weird game because it was the one game we wrote up last week that we won. That was also a weird part of the game.
Oh, you're just going to come out here firing. See, I wasn't even sure if you were ready for the podcast. You're kind of looking at the computer, so I was trying to talk for a little bit to let you, ease into it. But, yeah, I mean, you could call it that.
It was a very strange game in that the Packers kind of controlled it the whole time, and yet in the second half, this was very clearly a game that is why Trey Lance should be playing for the 49ers. But at the same time, Jimmy G engineered, 3 touchdown drives in the second half? So how, as a 49ers fan, what do you take from it?
I mean, same thing that I've taken from many, many 49ers games, which is that you can be very, very good with a really good scheme and a lot of really good players, but you're not going to win a Super Bowl with that team.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jimmy G ain't winning a Super Bowl. Came as close as you're going to come. The big difference, here was the big takeaway that I had. The 49ers on the first drive dominated on the defensive line. You're like, oh my God. Nick Bosa's rushing against a guy, something called a Yosh.
He's rushing against Yosh.
Okay. Look,
some
and
SHs right there.
The 49ers of 2019, that would have been a real problem. Why? Because they could cover, as you like to say, a $5 check. They could not in this game. Devonte Adams was targeted on 50% of Aaron Rodgers' throws. He didn't need to look anywhere else because they couldn't cover anybody. His average time to throw in the first half was 2.09 seconds, the fastest of his entire career. The takeaway from this was, you could have Nick Bosa up there. If you can't cover anybody, you are going to lose games. And even if you have a lead with 37 seconds left and the other team doesn't have timeouts, there's nothing you can do to stop it.
I think you said it perfectly. I think one of the issues, but it's very interesting because, I take away from this game, I thought LaFleur, part of me was watching this game and looking at you a little bit because you've given me shit for the Shanahan-LaFleur comparison. And I think for the first 55 minutes of the game, it resonated. LaFleur called a better game than Shanahan, I thought. Exactly what you described, which is...
So, first off, LaFleur has Aaron Rodgers and Devonte Adams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he called a better game. I think he had a quarterback who made a bunch of big-time throws and a receiver who literally whooped ass on every play.
But doesn't that, the fact, look, I'm trying to get to my point here. The first 55 minutes of the game, I thought LaFleur did fantastic. I thought that Garoppolo, to what you're saying, the short times to throw, getting around having a bad left tackle, only having one real receiving threat, playing in the game. And you saw it when Adams went out with that gruesome injury for a few plays. That was the worst drive I've ever seen. Of the Packers.
They had no other
option to go to. So I think, their weakness is very much the fact that Adams is their only player on offense that can go vertical. And I think LaFleur coaching pretty well around that is impressive. Now, the Niners did some impressive things too. I do wonder though, how much longer is it Jimmy G? Like, how much longer, how long do we have to go into this thing before it's a character flaw on behalf of Shanahan to continue to play Jimmy G?
Okay. I think it's not helping that rookie quarterbacks look like dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, even Fields is the worst of the bunch.
Yeah, now Nagy is not going to be mistaken for any of the two play callers that were on the field tonight. That was a clinic in how not
By the way, there's a PFF forecast callback to what happened to the Bears today. So the Bears threw for 1 yard. It's the least amount of yards the team has thrown for in an NFL game since 2009. The Bengals threw for exactly 0 yards. The starting quarterback in that game for the Bengals, the primary quarterback, Carson Palmer, went out. JT O'Sullivan was the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals in that game. They had clinched the division, so they were just kind of messing around. And JT, it was the 09 Jets with Revis and so forth. But today today the Bears tried to win the whole game, and unfortunately,
It was one of the least imaginative schemes and that I've ever seen.
We've said this before about Nagy, where it's like it sometimes looks like he's trying to prove a point about his quarterback.
Yeah, it honestly looked like that today.
And like when it was Trubisky, it made sense because Trubisky wasn't the guy he drafted, and he's trying to show ownership that the guy sucks and needs a new quarterback. The problem is in this one, this is your guy. Like in theory, are you trying to prove to all of us that you are? That he's not good enough and that you were right to start Dalton? Because Dalton wasn't proving anything on your behalf when he was out there.
No, Dalton did rush for more yards in both weeks 1 and 2
than Fields did.
Did in week 3. Tom Brady also rushed for more yards than Justin Fields did today. He had only 3 designed rushing attempts, which was pretty sad, and stood in the pocket a lot. They have one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league, and they did not leverage that at all, which is
hurtful.
Not great. By the way, the Packers were +4 in that game against the Niners right from the get-go. I felt really good about that one, which was great because I lost all of my money. I am completely poor. This is probably the last outfit that I'm going to have.
Yeah.
I was all in on Tom Brady over 2.5 passing touchdowns, and as soon as the first touchdown was a handoff.
Yeah. To a wide receiver. And then
Chris
the second
Godwin.
Touchdown was a run by Brady.
Yes.
Then you knew
I knew I was fucked.
Yeah.
Both those end up being passing touchdowns when we get through.
Yeah, let's recap a little bit. So Brady over 2.5 touchdowns was lock of the week. We are now 2-1 on those. We should have just went with Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns again. That would have been 3-0. So we're 2-1 on those. We were 1-4 on the write-ups this year. Those write-ups are now, I believe. We
still have one.
We still have one more, and that one more will get us back to even as far as the wins and losses. So
the Washington football team was a 9.5-point underdog when we wrote that up. Yep. Ended up being, I think, did it close 7 or 7.5?
7. I mean, we got 2.5 points on Washington now, and the thing is, with a couple of these, they went straight to key numbers. So we had Washington plus 9.5. It closed at 7. Green Line didn't even like Washington at 7 because again, like that was probably more of our true number. New York Jets were plus 11.5. That closed at 10. Probably, they seem to be the sharp side every week now. The Jets have been the sharp side 3 weeks in a row.
The sharp side, as in the knife that I'm holding in my neck.
Jets, Denver over 41.5. It actually closed at 41.5. So we got no value there. It also had no shot. And then Tampa plus 1.5. I believe it closed at Tampa -1. So again, 2.5 points, but not really valuable 2.5 points. And then lastly, this is another one where we had Green Bay plus 4, closes at Green Bay plus 3, going to a key number. It was 1 point of value, but a lot more points of value a lot more value percentage-wise than the Tampa Bay one. So look, like we've yet to have in our picks a number close worse than where we printed it off, and so I think that's a good trait. But it doesn't feel any
moral victories.
Well, it just means that.
Are you gonna have some extra soup tonight?
I'm looking forward to that soup. Do we have to? Because the question is like, because every single one of these, and we'll get to our discussion here. Every single one of these podcasts is more or less like, do we have a good gauge on the league, right? And I think And I think getting closing line value means that you have a decent gauge on the league. It's just whether or not things are breaking right, or if there's a collective delusion about the league. One of these weeks, the Jets are going to cover, right? Do we? But the famous quote is, of course, the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent.
When the Jets cover, that'll be great. I want to have nothing to do with it.
You want to have nothing to do with it.
Okay, I'm not going to sit around and wait for that.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, so the question were we too high? Were we too high on,
too high? I was too high. I should have smoked
But think about this, though. Washington now, it's very clear that they are not a contender to win the NFC East.
Game, I don't know what Taylor Heineke thought he needed to do. I don't know if he saw Josh Allen on the other side and was like, yeah, I could do that too. Yeah. And was just throwing YOLO balls.
Josh played really well in this game, though.
He was great.
Washington football team's defense, a myth, of course.
You know what I'm really bummed that we didn't talk about on Sunday last week, which ended up being the only pick I was really on and picked it in the Circa Millions, talked about it with Ben Brown on Saturday night on the betting podcast, was Detroit +8, which I just thought that Detroit looked somewhat decent against Green Bay on Monday Night Football, and Baltimore had just been through the ringer.
Power rank a couple quarterbacks for me, okay?
Yep.
So I said this on the PFF forecast last week. There were a few comments that called me nuts. Jacoby Brissett. I'd rather have Jacoby Brissett right now than I'd rather have Big Ben. I'd rather have Jacoby Brissett.
Okay. I don't know that that's controversial.
It's controversial. But here's another one that
Big Ben targeted his running back, Najee Harris, 19 times. They had a 4th and 10, and he threw a swing pass at the line of scrimmage.
Somehow Jacoby had the exact.
He fell down taking a drop back.
Somehow Jacoby Brissett.
Can I say something about Big Ben real quick?
No, his nickname is Has Been. Okay.
You've been waiting all day. waiting all day for Sunday night. Yeah. I can't even make fun of the Steelers anymore. I can't even make fun of Big Ben. It's sad. It's like it would be like me going to a convalescent home and making fun of the people in the convalescent home.
That's so mean, but
I can't do it. I legitimately feel bad. Today was the first time that I've watched a quarterback this year, and every year there's one quarterback. He trots out there, and you just feel bad for him because you're like, this guy has no fucking shot. That's how I feel. Oh, man, I was going to try not to swear tonight.
Yeah, somebody
I'm sorry. Whoever that was, I apologize.
We're back to 0, though. Grace. But here's
flipping shot.
Here's what I'll say to you, though. The funniest thing is you watch that Dolphins. By the way, the Dolphins covered against the Raiders. Yes, Dolphins were a pick. The Dolphins had value at 4.5 per green line. They closed at 3.5. 3. I think it was actually 3. No value on that at the end of the day. Dolphins lose by 3 against the Raiders. Raiders now 3-0. Over 6.5, over 7, alive and well. But when you watch that end of that game, right? Brissett looked amazing. Brissett looked plucky, let's just say, not amazing. And then you come up for air and you look at his statistics: 32 for 49 for 215, no touchdowns, no picks. He is Big Ben. He's a more mobile, more likable, better version of Big Ben.
Okay, are you done?
Okay, and then here's my second one. Here's my other one, and this gets to your Detroit point. I would rather have Jared Goff than Carson Wentz right now.
Agree.
Carson Wentz, I was watching that game because I had a little bit of a taste on Indianapolis plus 5.5. And I'll say this. He is the most unwatchable player in the NFL besides Big Ben. He is dreadful. And I know, and Indy fans will come at me and blah, blah, blah.
I don't know if they will.
No, they did last week.
They need to stop.
Because when I watched Monday Night Football, I said to myself, because we sweated through the Indianapolis cover against the Rams last week, and then we watched Monday Night Football. And granted, Goff's not perfect, but Goff is functionally bad, right? When you watch Jared Goff, it's like, yeah, he's not that good, but it's
not. Are you not going to give Carson Wentz any benefit of the doubt for playing with a broken foot and sprained ankles and all that shit?
No, because he's always hurt like that. Yeah. And he just doesn't see pressure. He doesn't
It ain't great. I was told Frank Reich was going to fix him. We have to talk about. We can't spend all day talking about Jacoby Brissett. Okay. So we're going to get to. I think we should repower rank because we did top 5 last week. I have a feeling they'll change. Let's let's go Rams Bucs first. This was the game of the weekend. The Rams caught a fairly banged up Bucs team that got more banged up as the game went on. But what was your takeaway from that game? Was it more to do with the Rams or the Bucs?
The Bucs are not good enough to play. The Bucs are not good enough to beat teams on a day where everything lands well. And like, I'm not trying to diminish the Rams. The Rams are a good team, and we had them power rated in the top 5 last week. By the way, everybody who says we hate them, like they are in our.
You kind of hate them, though.
In our numerical rankings. The Los Angeles Rams. So it goes going into the week. It was Kansas City, Tampa, Buffalo, Los Angeles. Buffalo being 3 was a little bit questionable. They, of course, I think have proven they belong there. LA at 4. I think that the Bucs, with injuries to the secondary, with frankly a head coach who in week 3 is not coaching the same way he would in the playoffs, like with too many early down runs and all that kind of stuff, and having kind of an off day. I don't think Brady played well. Antonio Brown's extremely important to that team, as is Sean Murphy-Bunting, as is Jamel Dean. Jamel Dean dropped an interception that was pretty blatant at the beginning of the game. And so I think what today proved is that Tampa Bay is not good enough to beat the second best team in the conference if they don't play a good game. And I think LA Stafford proved so far that so far so good. I mean, like, there's really no way you can knock him. He's played well. There's busted coverages in many cases, but he's making those throws. He's being accurate. And Sean McVay, he seems to get along really well with Sean McVay. So I really have nothing bad to say about the Rams. I would not power rate them ahead of Tampa Bay after this week. I think that's too much of an overreaction, but they are firmly a top 4 team for me.
I was really going to try and do this like long thing where I didn't say anything nice about the Rams. We have some wonderful Rams listeners. I'm going to say something nice about the Rams. Let me start here. We have made fun of LA teams for having no home field advantage at all. I thought this would show up in this game, and there would be a lot of Brady fans out there. It was loud, and it was decisively loud for the Los Angeles Rams. They have a home field advantage.
And you want to know the fact of the matter is that when the Los Angeles Rams won back-to-back division titles in 2017 and 2018, it was the first time they had done so since the 70s. So you're talking about a team that moved cities and then won a Super Bowl and then moved back, had not had sustained success. Like, sustained success will bring fans. And you're seeing that now with the LA Rams, and you might eventually see it with the LA Chargers.
The city of Los Angeles loves winners. A lot of Dodger fans cropped up over the past 10 years. But let me continue.
I feel like that's a pointed decision.
Let me continue here. The pass protection for the Rams has been sensational. Pending review, they have the second highest pass blocking grade in the entire league. Pressure rate of below 21%, which would be the lowest in the entire league. And this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment. It is not. What has been most impressive about the Rams is it looks easy. And that is to say that there are some throws that Matt Stafford is making that maybe Jared Goff wouldn't have made. I don't think there are as many of those as we may want to believe. What's really shining is the scheme has been fantastic. There are coverage busts all over the field. Deshaun Jackson is running scot-free down the center of the football field. Cooper Kupp, no one knows where Cooper Kupp is going to be on any given play. They don't even need to use Robert Woods. The Sean McVay offensive scheme is working really, really well. And when that team is healthy, they are going to be able to play with just about any team. I didn't even mention the defense, which obviously has the best corner and the best defensive lineman in the NFL. So the Rams are really freaking good. I think that's the takeaway from today. It's also important, I think, that we not overreact to a Bucs team that was playing on the road, that has obviously a pretty big game next week, and that was missing Jamel Dean for 3/4 of the game and Sean Murphy-Bunting, and dropped a pick in a very horrible. Jamel Dean is the one that actually dropped that pick.
I mean, we're talking about a football team in Tampa Bay that was beaten on opening day by the New Orleans Saints, and then beaten by like 35 on Sunday Night Football at home by the New Orleans Saints, and then went and beat that team by multiple scores in the playoffs. Like, one game is exactly that. I mean, think about this for a second. And I don't mean to change the subject, but I'm just sort of trying to demonstrate what one game means. Week 1 of the season, the Buffalo Bills get beaten by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and everybody's trying to figure out. That's a good point. Everybody's trying to figure out what that means, and it meant nothing. It was a freaking fluky ass game, right? And again, not to diminish what the Rams are doing, I'm just saying what the Rams did today was very impressive, and it does make us adjust our rankings. I think, of course, it will, but does it? Because right now, before this game, we had Tampa Bay 3 points better than LA in a neutral field. The game closed. Well, the game at one point was Tampa Bay -1.5. If you give if you give home field advantage being a certain amount, it makes a little bit of sense. That's where the market was. Now, if we re-rack this game, I'm pretty sure it would open LA -1.5, and it would not get bet to Tampa -1.5. Right? Like that's how it works, and that's okay. The Rams are a legitimate contender in the NFL, and Tampa is still probably the marquee one. Are they? I actually haven't looked at the betting markets right now. What team do you think is actually the favorite to win the Super Bowl at this point?
I think it should still be Tampa.
Well, because it depended on the market you looked at. Circa was Tampa. Other markets, it was Kansas City. That kind of makes it a little bit weird for me, right? Because I don't think it should be Kansas City anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they're in last place in the division at this point.
Yeah, and like, okay. So right now on DraftKings, I'll look at another one. But Tampa Bay is 5-1, Kansas City 6-1, Buffalo's 7-1, the LA Rams are 9-1. So to my point, like the Rams have an advantage over Tampa in that if they finish with the same record and they both win their own division, Tampa would not get the 1 seed over the Rams, and the market's still like, because the Rams have to go through this gauntlet that is, Arizona, Seattle, San Francisco. Whereas Tampa, like if New Orleans was back to form today.
Carolina's undefeated.
But and the Atlanta Falcons won today. Our Falcons. But at the same time, like that shows you how much this game changes something, but it doesn't change everything.
Yeah. Here's my takeaway from the Bucs side of things. So we talked about how their defense was banged up, and that's always something that you just need to accept is going to happen in the league, right? Your defense is going to get banged up. You need to still be able to win games. They were not really competitive in this game for most of the second half. And I thought the reason why is that I'm not sure. Remember when the Patriots would come out and they'd say, look, we can't run the ball. Brady's going to throw like 50 times in a game. Mm-hmm. This was that game for them. And they still relied on too many early down runs. Correct. In a game where Tom Brady threw for like 435 yards. You need to have something where if it's like, look, we need to put the entire thing on Tom Brady's back, we're just not going to run Leonard Fournette into the middle of a line ever again.
Correct.
And you just need to be willing to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah. And it just was one of those games, and they missed plays. Like Gronk dropped a couple passes. They dropped an interception by Jamel Dean. I mean, there are butterfly effects to these things. Again,
kicked a field goal in low red zone. Had a 4th and 1 that they easily should have converted. They did not.
Not taking anything away again from like I don't think there's anything fundamental about Tampa where you watch the game. Like can we transition a little bit to the AFC here?
Yeah.
Like it's not like Kansas City where you watch it and you're like, there is a distinct, not a distinct formula to beat the Chiefs, but a distinct formula for the Chiefs to lose, right? Which is
so I want to get your sense here. Okay, panic on a scale of 0, I'm not panicked at all. I'm chilling, to 10, where I'm the Jets and the holy shit.
I think it's 6.5 for me because Andy Reid was admitted to the hospital after the game, clearly not healthy. Having some issues there. That's going to be, Eric Bieniemy is a candidate for the USC job. So there's maybe a little bit of distraction there. Steve Spagnuolo has not done a great job with this defense. They came out actually fairly strong in this game, forced a couple punts at the beginning. And the Chiefs offense just, didn't, the Chiefs offense, and this might be unfair, but the Chiefs offense basically has to score every drive. in order for this team to be successful. And that's obviously a huge bar, especially when you're very top heavy at the skill position. But the defense did get some stops late. Like they got a stop. They got the stop at the very end to tie the game at 24, right? And the Chiefs had the ball with a chance to go down and kick a field goal and win the game, and Mahomes threw an interception. And so, like, you come from this game and you're like, in both their losses, the formula for them to lose was very clear. Really struggle playing defense, be out physical at times, right? Against the Ravens, it was at the line of scrimmage. Against the Chargers, it was at the catch point on the offensive side of the ball, on their defense. And play sloppy football on offense, right? Like that was in the Baltimore game, it was an interception. It was a bad snap. It was a fumble by Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Today it was a couple interceptions by Mahomes, a fumble by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that was, that's not good enough. And am I concerned? Yes. They haven't lost. This is the only division game they've lost. So they can obviously make it up, but like the path to the Super Bowl is a lot harder now that there's only one seed. So, and I don't think the Chiefs are a favorite to get that anymore.
They should be very concerned. Now, I was ridiculed for betting the undefeated Las Vegas Raiders.
That was a good bet.
To win the division at plus 750. They pulled it out, obviously, against the Miami Dolphins.
Do you think that so I agree that it was a good bet. It was made numerical sense. Everybody that talks shit to you on Twitter, I came in and caped for you a little bit, and I said, explain, what would your handicap be? Because our numbers said that the Kansas City Chiefs going in the week had a 53% chance to win the division. Everybody said, you got to throw that shit out the window if that's the case. And I kindly showed them that at Pinnacle, the Chiefs were about 59%. At DraftKings, they were about 57%. Circa was more like in the mid-60s. So, like, we were on the low end, but not all that. Like, if you're laying minus price with the Chiefs right now, I think you're insane. And I think you have to wait a little bit longer because I think there's going to be a couple weeks here where other teams continue to win, and you might get a plus price on them.
So I agree with you on the concern. Here's the macro concern that I have. When I look back on these three games and I think about the most important player on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs is Patrick Mahomes. And there are more disgusting turnovers that come to mind than there are holy shit amazing plays. And that bears out in the data. He has more turnover-worthy plays than he does big-time throws. That he sailed a pass to Kelsey today. He made so many high-variance throws on the right side of variance. Every single no-look throw ended up being a conversion for a first down on a 3rd and long or something like that. Today it was a pick. And that, do I think it will come back? Yeah, absolutely. But it's concerning because the rest of their offense doesn't seem to be efficient enough to where those plays can be overcome. And you're relying on these big plays to happen, and they're just not happening. The rest of the team is not particularly good. I'll say this as well. The offensive line, for how much they invested in it, did not look particularly great today.
Well, did you see, the article that I wrote about returning not returning 5 offensive linemen? These are things that happened, and like, I think ultimately they'll be fine, and I people are offended by the weirdest things, but I said on Twitter this week, I said, the best thing that could happen to the Chiefs is that Thuney and then the 3 rookies on the right side all play well enough for them to walk on Orlando Brown. Because Orlando Brown's like not very good, like he very much was covered up by a scheme, I think, in Baltimore. And the problem is that, like, what is their recourse here? Like, what are they going to be able to do? Because there's not some guy coming in to play left tackle for them, and it was always like, in a weird way, like, no one really understood that, like, all the moves they made this offseason at offensive line was to make them, and now Orlando Brown actually played okay today relative to normal. Yeah, he did give up 2 hurries. He's beaten 5 times. But like, all the moves they made on the offensive line was to get like to slightly below where they were starting last season with Fisher and Schwartz. Like, they're not better than they were last year. And Mahomes has to be better at negotiating the pocket. Like, and they seem overly committed to running on early downs too, which I think is a blunder for them.
The Chargers, on the other hand.
Yeah.
What's your take on them?
I mean, there's not really a whole lot bad you can say about Herbert, right? I mean, the thing about the Chargers is that they're still doing all the same Chargers shit. They had a touchdown called back. They had a 4th down conversion. Like, they went for it on 4th and 4 near midfield at the end of the first half, up 14-0, and like got a 30-yard pass and were called for illegal formation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that game could have been done at the end of the half, and like, they're still doing some of the same Charger shit that they've always done. I think the difference now is Brandon Staley is actually adding positive variance by going for 4th downs and not always being the biggest schmuck in the world like Anthony Lynn was, right? Like, Anthony Lynn kicks that field goal at the end of this game, and it goes wide left, and they go to overtime, and everybody's like, well, I didn't make them. It was sort of like the Vikings with Zimmer. It's like, make a 37-yard kick. It's like, well, no, we get 10 more yards and make the kick easier, right? Like, the good coaches like put their players in position to win, and the good coaches have fewer of the woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? Like, at the end of this game, no one's woulda, coulda, shoulda the Los Angeles Chargers, right? Because Brandon Staley was aggressive.
Let's do a quick power rank, top 5, or however many you want to do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, these are going to be different than what's numerical because of priors, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would probably put it. This is tough because I don't want to be a homer, and I don't want to go exactly with the betting line. So I'll go. I'll go Tampa Bay, LA, Kansas City, Buffalo, Green Bay. Those are my top 5.
Okay. I tiered it a little bit, and I think that the top 3 you could probably say, oh, let me put them in any order based on, health or how well they're playing, right? And so maybe how well they're playing, you could put the Rams number 1, based on how well, like, if you're trying to be predictive and how well they might be playing at the end of the year. There's still not, there's still a lot to learn about the Rams. So my tier 1 would be my top 3, which would be Bucs, Chiefs, Rams. I'm not writing Mahomes off quite yet, but I think that's tier 1. Tier 2, I would go Packers 4, Browns 5, Bills 6, Chargers 7, and that would be my tier 2. And then I think tier 3 has teams would have like Cowboys, Ravens, Saints, Hawks, Cardinals, 49ers, probably Broncos and Panthers because they're undefeated. But I'll say this, and we'll talk about this here in a second. Broncos have played a pretty easy schedule thus far. It'd be very interesting to see them against the Chargers next week, and so have the Panthers.
Do you think that the Seahawks belong in the in like one of those top tiers? Because watching them today, like, and granted, like, let's just throw it out there, Kirk Cousins is amazing, right? Like, Kirk Cousins played like the 8th best quarterback in the football.
In the football, yeah.
In the football. But like, that team can't get a stop to save their life, can they?
No, it's pretty bad.
And I think our friend Ben Baldwin said this on Twitter, but like it's like the Chiefs, right? Like, you put undue stress on your offense by insisting that they score every possession. Like, and they couldn't cover anybody. And like, and good on the Vikings, good on Kirk, good on Alexander Madison, good on, Clint Kubiak. They took advantage of it fully. But that's a team that, like, I mean, I think on their best day can beat a great team, but on the average day, I don't think they play enough. I just don't know. Like, are they a bad enough defense where it matters?
Here's the thing. Last year at this time, we thought the Seahawks were Super Bowl contenders, and they drifted into oblivion. Maybe they're just trying something new out. They're going to start a little slow and pick it up as they go along. I would say this. there is so much unknown. I think that tier 3 has to be a lot of teams.
A wide net.
Because it's like, holy shit. Like, how do I know? The 49ers are a great example. Like, Trey Lance may be the answer. Cardinals are another good example where there's so much variance from them on a play-to-play basis, much less game-to-game. So let's go into week 4. We're going to guess lines here. So we changed this up a little bit where we usually guess them before the games. We said, look, we want to give people a better product. Like, after the games happen, we should adjust if we need to adjust. So without having looked at what the lines are, this is our best approximation for what we think.
And I'm going to do 2 guesses. One, I have mine written down from pregame, and I'm going to have mine from now, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Okay. I just changed mine. I can remember if I need to. Let's start with Thursday night. Here in Cincinnati, the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals, who did not get sacked once against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had like
a 70-game streak.
76-game streak, I think. Joe Burrow, pending review, will have the highest graded game in his career against the TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith-less Pittsburgh Steelers. I have the Cincinnati Bengals at home getting 7.
Laying 7, you mean?
Sorry, yes, laying 7.
I'm wrong because I was not, and like that game went under, right? Where we talked about that, the Cincinnati, but it was for a different reason than we said. So kudos to us for getting ahead of that, I guess. I had Cincinnati laying 3.5, which is way too low.
Wow.
And the reason why I did that was
Jaguars better over here.
No, it wasn't a Jaguars bet. It was a Cincinnati fade. And Cincinnati, to their credit, I thought played extremely well. I would say now it's probably about 6.5 would be what I would do after the games today. But that just tells you that like the Jags are going to be a value this week, right? Because like they are, right? I mean, you're going to be betting the Jags. Are you laying 7? Are you laying the points with the Bengals?
No, I put it at 7 because that's where I would not bet either side. I do need to say this. There was a lot of, oh my God, in the preseason, I can't believe that the Bengals took Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Jamar Chase is a stud. And the Cincinnati Bengals made a fantastic choice by taking Jamar Chase because it gives Joe Burrow a legitimate 1 option, and their chemistry is very obvious. The number of deep passing touchdowns that Joe Burrow has to Jamar Chase, I believe, is more than he had in his entire rookie season through like 8 games. That was a clear missing component. The chemistry that they have is obvious. And, look, Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater played fantastically. The Bengals needed that receiving threat, and they got it. The line on Pinnacle is 7.5.
So Riley Reef went down briefly. I haven't seen his injury. That matters. It might not matter against the Jags, though. The Jags played hard this week. Did not matter, ultimately. What's the total?
The total on this game is 51.5. All right, no, sorry, 45.5. I had the wrong game.
45.5 seems about right. I mean, there's going to be maybe you go under that if you have to pick. This is one where you're getting a first, and I didn't actually factor this in. I wrote it later. You're getting a first-year coach on Thursday Night Football, and one that I think is uniquely, questionably qualified for the position to begin with. So,
and by the way, we're talking about Urban Meyer.
Yeah. So I would probably just lay off this game if you absolutely have to bet at Jacksonville plus 7.5 is the only thing you can bet.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Yeah, I think with the hook, you may be right.
Laying more than a touchdown with a bad team is, and granted, Cincinnati might not be a bad team, but like they have a ways to prove that to me.
Yeah, I do think if I would bet anything, I might bet over.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Sunday 1 p.m. slate. This is going to be a shitty game. The Tennessee Titans are playing the New York Jets in New York.
Okay.
What do you have this at?
Tennessee -7.
Okay. I have Jets plus 6.5. So Tennessee minus 6.5. It's
yeah,
definitely
I don't think anything today changed that. Tennessee didn't look all that great against Indy. The Jets looked like the Jets again. In fact, if anything, the Jets looked worse in our minds. Although
the Jets just looked so terrible.
But the elixir is the fact that Tennessee's defense is hogwash, right? So this might actually be a game where, like, they really have. The Jets have faced a Belichick defense, Carolina's defense, which I think is going to be one of those that sort of beats up on bad teams. That isn't a great defense, but a defense that can clobber bad teams.
Certainly been ascending.
And Denver, who's got a good defense. So this is the first non-great defense that our pal Zach Wilson faced.
It is Tennessee minus 7.5, total of 46.
Total's probably fine. Again, this is another one where the sharps are going to be on the Jets. I think this closes at 7. So
help me God.
Yeah, I know.
Kansas City goes to Philadelphia, and the Eagles, who play on Monday Night Football. This was one where I initially was like, Kansas City is going to win this game against the Chargers. They're going to be like a 10-point favorite. I have come back down to earth on that.
Yes.
I think it will be Kansas City plus 7.5. Sorry, minus 7.5.
Yeah, I have the same number as you.
It is. Wow, it's 5.5.
Chiefs are 0-3 against the spread this year. They haven't won a game against the spread in the regular
Total
season.
of 55.
Okay, that's under, right? Like, and we got lucky. We had under in that game. It went under 54.5 because I missed PAT on the last touchdown. Under's the right play, right?
I would tend to agree with you. I mean, Philadelphia's defense is not scaring anybody. It's so tough with the Chiefs because you expected them to get right this week. The Chargers are a much better team than the Philadelphia Eagles. A much better team.
But in both directions, though, right? In the sense of, like, Jalen Hurts, like with the Chiefs, the worry you have to have in this one is that the Chiefs are going to give up ground yards, right? But, like, do the Chiefs really have to be worried about the Eagles receivers? They probably just have to play man coverage on the back end and like limit the amount of stuff Hurts can do deep. I mean, okay, it's 5.5. That's teaser protected. You don't tease anything down through 0. Do we bounce back the Chiefs here at minus 5.5? I feel like it's probably a solid play.
I mean, this is too low.
Yeah.
This is too low.
Okay. Kansas City minus 5.5 is going in the candidates list. Okay.
We go now to Dallas and the Dallas Cowboys, who are going to be hosting the Carolina Panthers. This is going to be a very good game, interesting game. In Dallas, as I said, I think that I had the Cowboys here as a 3.5-point favorite.
I had the same as you. The reasoning that it's not bigger is that we have uncertainty about what happens tonight in Monday Night Football, but also Carolina's
played really well.
Carolina's getting a 3-day rest advantage, and then Dallas is getting a 1-day rest disadvantage. So that's it again. Carolina's gotten 4 kind of really cakewalky sort of like rookie quarterback week 1, team that hasn't been at home in a month week 2, rookie head coach on Thursday Night Football week 3, and now this rest advantage. So things are shining brightly on them a little bit.
Well, yes and no though. I mean, they just lost J.C. Horn.
The schedule is shining brightly on them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, CMC's out. I know that won't impact, the betting line a whole lot, but like the J.C. Horn loss does suck.
The leak here for Dallas and why it might be hard to lay the points is that Dallas's offensive line's banged up. You had the Lyle Collins trying to buy off of the Piss Cup guy. And so Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, Derek Brown.
Can we just talk about something really quickly? Kudos to that Piss Cup guy.
Yeah, like look at his integrity. I mean, like
that guy should get an immediate promotion.
Remember when Ryan Braun
maybe Collins' bribe was just terrible.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, hey buddy, I'll give you $20. Yeah. Can you help me out?
Remember when Ryan Braun threw his Piss Cup guy under the bus and then eventually got found out anyway?
Stunned by that. It is Dallas minus 4.5, total at 50.
Under. And
yeah, I do think under's
Carolina's the only side at 4.5. I think honestly, Dallas is great, but like there are a lot of like kind of fluky thing. Like Dallas has some leaks that I need to see patched up as the season progresses. One of them, lack of a third wide receiver now with the Gallup out, offensive line issues, and then the defense is always going to be a problem in my opinion. But
yeah, I actually quite like Carolina here.
What was DJ Moore okay after Thursday Night Football?
I believe he's going to be okay.
I mean, that's an important thing, right?
Next game, the New York Football Giants, 0-3 Football Giants, are going to New Orleans to play the New Orleans Saints. I have the Saints as a 5.5-point favorite at home.
Okay. I said 3.5. New Orleans did impress today, and the Giants continue to Giants it up.
I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
Saints are 8.5-point.
Come on, no way. Really?
Yeah.
You're gonna the market is making people lay 8.5
with Giannis.
Giannis. I mean the fundamental theorem of Giannis would tell you that you have to bet against Giannis this week, right? I mean that's a fucking absurd.
The total is 43.5.
I mean Sean Payton will coach circles around Joe Judge. That is 100%.
Joe Judge today punted on, I believe it was 4th and 1 from the 39. Holy God, what are you doing?
The Falcons got to win, and hopefully this
the Falcons won a game, and the Falcons couldn't beat anybody.
That's what I'm saying. Like, hopefully this helps the Falcons get some confidence in whatever, because if the Falcons continue to play the way they've played, this is the only motherfucking team they're beating. Sorry, this is the only team they're beating all year, and they should not be getting 8.5 though. Holy buckets.
Where does holy buckets come from?
I don't know. I'm trying not to. I went to the rodeo this week, and of course, I have a few of these. It's my first rodeo, and I was waiting to use that. But holy buckets has to be something that came from that, doesn't it?
All right, maybe.
So are we gonna go Giants plus 8.5? It seems absurd, but
it's better than the Jets.
All right. Daniel Jones is actually not playing awful football. Here's
some of the concern, which is Kenny Galladay went out of this game. Or no, sorry, Slayton went out of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Sterling Shepard went out of this game, both with soft tissue injuries.
Okay, let's ignore this game then.
Wow, you were just so.
Well, no,
quick
I look, bad football teams, man, and Peyton's a former Giants assistant. The New Orleans Saints have a great defense, and I think Daniel Jones, I still put him in that group of quarterbacks that are like the rookies, where it's maybe a good matchup, but
you had this at 3.5.
Okay, fine, fuck it, we'll go with it.
Consider.
What is our power rankings going into the week were Giants were 3.5 points worse than the average team on a neutral. The New Orleans Saints, why? So I must just not have appreciated our power rankings. So we have New Orleans 5.2 points better than the Giants on a neutral. New Orleans is a decent home field, but I don't know what much it's going to be a home field this week. But you'd have to have a home field advantage of 3.3 points, which is historically what you would give the best teams. So yeah, I mean 8.5 is a bettable number for sure.
This one I really struggled with. Minnesota is hosting the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
What'd you have this at?
Cleveland -2.5.
Okay. That's what.
But that was before today. I mean.
Oh, so what did you change to?
I still don't think today changed him. I mean, I think
I had not too shockingly. That's exactly what I had before today. I think this should be not that it's a big difference. But I think the line really should be more of a pick.
Okay, so
I'm certainly not crossing 3 in either direction.
No, but so here's what I'll say. Again, I don't want to talk mess about the Vikings. The Vikings, I said on the pregame show today, which you should watch every Sunday, I said the Vikings are probably the best 0-2 team in the NFL. They played fantastic today, and their defense did not give up a point after like midway through the second quarter. So good on them. They played fantastically. The Cleveland Browns defense is not a joke, the way that Seattle is, and Odell Beckham Jr. being back adds a dimension that I don't know if the Vikings can really handle. That's kind of my issue there.
It is one. Minnesota +1, yeah. Total of 52.5.
Yeah, the total makes sense. The Vikings aren't stopping anybody, and they are very good offensively. It feels like, and again, this is not a rational thing other than it's happened before, and that's the data we have. But there feels like a 3-interception day from Kirk coming, right? Like where he's played so well, and they're like, oh, if we can just patch everything else up and Kirk continue to play this amazingly, then we're a playoff team, baby. And then all of a sudden he throws 3 picks and you can't win. Like I don't know if it's this week, but this is the second of a 3-game homestand for the Vikings. So maybe
Let me just say that if this gets to 1.5. I really like Minnesota
in a teaser.
Yeah.
They keep every game close. I mean,
it's a high total, but 52.5.
Are you concerned here that the Browns are one of the best teams in the NFL and the Vikings are not? And even though the Vikings are a good team, the Vikings are not a bad team, that the fact that like they went up against another not a bad team today and played almost a perfect game for them, that if any of that is perturbed, the fact that the Browns are a really freaking good team, I would say, could curb that. Like, do you think that they could extend on the Vikings?
No.
Okay.
The Browns are very, very good. I refuse to believe I know that definitively how much better any of these teams in like tiers 2 and 3 really are. That's what I will say. And Kirk is playing better than Baker Mayfield is right now.
Yeah.
Period.
Kirk.
And the Minnesota Vikings have 2 of the best receivers, one of the best receiving duos in the NFL right now, with Thielen and Justin Jefferson. And Cleveland is missing Jarvis Landry, who's a key component of that offense. Are you trusting Odell? You cannot yet.
Yeah. The thing that has, I think, separated Minnesota this year on offense and why they've had more success is that they have found a third option in the passing game every single game. So KJ Osborne has been great in weeks 1 and 2. In this game, Tyler Conklin, they threw it to him 8 times. He caught 7 for 70 and a touchdown. Like, without Irv Smith, that was always going to be a question mark for them. And they have found a third option in every single game, and that is important. Dalvin Cook being out. Funny, Alexander Mattison, 112 yards on the ground, 59 in the air. Running backs don't matter.
Did you see a very, very funny follow? If you don't follow him on Twitter, Joey Knish.
Yeah.
He
lost
$500 that Alexander Mattison would lead the league in rushing today on Sunday. And unless there's a stat correction, he is 1 yard short of Derrick Henry.
You hate to see it. Amir Abdullah.
By the way, that is an awesome bet.
Yeah, it's very good, smart.
Awesome bet. Like finding the one place in the market where like you can take advantage of running backs being running backs.
And I know Joey's from Detroit,
tremendous.
and he must hate Amir Abdullah's 24 yards, the former Detroit Lion that stole 24 yards from Madison in this game.
Okay.
Yeah, like that will be one of the better games this weekend.
I'm very much looking forward to it and probably not betting it. Detroit goes to Chicago in what is now a very unsexy matchup. I'll just say this again. So, I mean, Justin Fields was sacked 9 times in this game. Justin Fields might not be the greatest quarterback ever to play in the NFL. And that's fine. He deserved better from that offensive scheme. Shame on you, Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
Shame on you, buddy.
I was
that was horrific.
Yeah. One of the first starts that I remember being one of the worst in NFL history was like when Troy Aikman went to New Orleans his rookie year and they lost 28-0, and even Troy Aikman threw for 180 yards in that game. Like, how? And he like, yeah, Matt. I mean, that's the thing. This is what I don't think people realize. Justin Fields is the only thing that's keeping us from talking about you being fired every single week. Like, how are you not going to support the guy? Like, they were better. He was supported better when he came in off the bench against the Bengals.
Yeah, which is hard to imagine.
Like, you had an entire week to craft a game plan around him. Like, are you serious about preferring Dalton to him? Like, because that's how you called the game. And I'm just waiting. I'm waiting it out. And, like, look, you're the Bears. The Vikings are 1-2. Detroit's 0-3. The Packers were an amazing drive by Aaron Rodgers away from being 1-2. This division is winnable if you stop stepping on it every single time. Your defense played fine today.
What I really took issue with is you almost said, "Hey, can you play the Andy Dalton game?"
I know.
It was weird. I know they the lack of design rushing attempts for Justin Fields was very concerning. The lack of times that they moved the pocket with Justin Fields was really concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. Anyways, the Detroit Lions, the spunky Detroit Lions with their nice little cover.
The Lions are 2-1 against the spread so far this year. Could have been 3-0 if they would have finished the Green Bay game out well.
Yeah, if Butterfingers didn't. The rain really just totally screwed that.
So what did you
I
make
have
the
Chicago by 3.5.
I said 4.5. Going into the day, I'd probably agree with you at 3.5.
Where is this? There it is. It's 3.5.
Here's a question, because I'll take Detroit. Thank you very much. Here's the thing: who would you rather like? This is
Detroit 3.5 is -115.
Yeah, let's take it now. Detroit plus
Total,
3.5.
Total is 44.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Do you know what the weather's going to be in Chicago?
I mean, I'm
going to look it up right now.
But here's the thing. Here's a question, because I compared Brissett.
Nice.
I compared Goff and Wentz. Who would you? I mean, you would much rather have Dan Campbell as your head coach right now than Matt Nagy, because Matt Nagy,
unbelievable. But yes,
Matt Nagy is not tactically great, right? He doesn't go for the right fourth downs all the time. He's also very much not Pete Carroll like in sort of like getting the most out of his players. At least for Dan Campbell, this team plays hard.
They do, and they really got
screwed today.
Screwed, yeah.
But like, good for the Ravens. Like, look, here's what I'll say about Baltimore.
By the way, if you didn't watch the game, why they got screwed is there was a pretty clear delay of game
on the field goal. Everybody was just so shocked that they got to see Justin Tucker try one from 66, and like including the referees who did not see it. Sammy Watkins not getting out of bounds was a complete joke. Even though, of course, he, in the very most Sammy Watkins way, made a catch at the end. I'll say this about the Ravens. I bet a ton on them under 10.5 after week 1. And I still feel confident in that because I don't think that they have the fundamentals.
You don't think Marquise Hollywood Brown will learn how to catch a pass?
I think it's going to be a long – like, I like the Ravens.
He dropped 3 stone-cold touchdowns.
I know. And I like the Ravens long-term, and I like the way the Ravens are constructed. They're a mash unit right now, and they're going to have a hard time winning sort of every single game. But I'll say this about them. In the last 2 weeks, the other team fucked up, and they were there to capitalize. And that's sometimes the mark of a good team.
True. The total on this game is 44.
Yeah, no. It's under or nothing for that game. I'm not betting under 44.
This is going to be a great game. The Houston Texans are playing in Buffalo. I have the Buffalo Bills favored by 14.5.
I said 13.5. It's probably 14.5.
I said 13.5 and changed it to 14.5.
Yeah, after today. Buffalo looked very good today.
And Houston with Davis Mills, not going to be great.
Can we?
It is 17.5.
Okay. This is like this is
total of 48.
2019 Miami Dolphins territory. Can we pause for a sec? The Davis Mills was not the problem on Thursday night.
Sure. Yeah, I guess.
Davis Mills played fine. Like,
yeah.
Whoever was calling plays for Houston
wasn't great.
Was off. Like,
yeah.
I think he actually used to coach at my alma mater, Kelly. But like, but the David Culley just simply not David Culley doing exactly what I thought Zach Taylor would do this week, which is playing to keep the game close. That was awful. And then them running on early downs and trying to protect Davis Mills like he's some fawn that needs to be like nurtured. When like, dude, the guy's got a neck of a cyborg. Like, have him throw the ball. I don't know. I watched the game and I came out of it thinking Davis Mills was not a disaster.
Does 17.5 not intrigue you a little bit?
Not at all.
Okay.
The shine has worn off. By the way, that division. So you go, Tennessee's already commanding lead, 2-1. Houston at 1-2, and then Indy's 0-3. Like all the bets we made when those broken feet happened are all stone cold now, right? Like,
speaking of, the Indianapolis Colts head to Miami to play Jacob Brissett. I have the Miami Dolphins as a 3-point favorite.
I said 2.5.
Yeah, I thought 3 might have been a little heavy-handed, but the Colts are in tough spot. It's only 1.5.
I can't lay points with Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah,
that's like a religious
but
exemption.
It's a revenge game for him.
It's a religious exemption for me, similar to Andrew Wiggins and the vaccine.
Total of 43.5.
The game sucks. Can we just ignore it?
Yeah, the game is terrible. Let's move onward. The Washington football. Speaking of sucks, the Washington football team is heading to Atlanta.
Oh yes, I love this game because our Falcons can get to 500. In this
yes,
game.
They can,
and
they won't.
And the Washington football team can get to 1-3 on their way to less than or equal to 8.
If you think Atlanta's winning this game, you're high. I have the Falcons being favored by a point.
See, I have Washington laying 2.5, but that was after because the markets really like Washington this week.
Yeah, Falcons are favored by a point. I know.
All right, well, I'm not laying it with. I'm not. Yeah, that's the dead zone.
Total of 49.
Under. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do like under here.
I mean, the Falcons are like I guess they went over against Tampa, but like most of their games are playing to this drag out BS that like.
Yeah, that does feel under. And I've got to imagine that Taylor Heineke is going to be told throw one more interception.
And we're putting in Kyle Allen or whoever the heck is.
Would be not great either. Okay, Seattle. Now finally some good games. The Sunday 4 p.m. slate. Seattle goes to San Francisco. I have the San Francisco 49ers favored by 2.5 points.
Okay. You said San Fran.
Mm-hmm.
I have it 3.5. San Fran favored. This reminded me of that Monday night game. Remember when Kyle Shanahan threw the ball 3 times instead of playing for the tie deep in his own end, and Seattle ended up coming back to win?
I need to find this line somewhere because it's not.
Josh Litzkewitz has messaged me, by the way, PFF _ Josh, who has said Holy Buckets is a Minnesota term, and so I have
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I have left a little bit of regional diction in my I've otherwise gotten rid of my Minnesota accent, but that
before Sunday night it was San Francisco -3.
I think
I'm gonna guess it's still 3.
You don't. So what do you think the markets took from this game in San Fran tonight?
That Jimmy, you spell clutch JIMMY. But here's the problem. Seattle, I don't know how you can have a ton of faith in Seattle. Like I don't.
Can't.
So making it, I think 2.5. What I had it at was, I probably should have changed it actually because I didn't look at this, this one in particular. But 3 feels right. It just does.
Yeah. I just don't think Seattle's like. I feel like Seattle's just going to get dragged up and down the field by the Niners. But there's the familiarity that is, like, we've seen this before, right? We had the Sunday night, like, Seattle beat them in San Fran on that Monday night game in 19. And then on Sunday Night Football to close the season, they were a touchdown away from winning the division. So, like, there's familiarity there. To your point, I think that's why 3 is probably the right, if you're getting Russell Wilson at a field goal and a hook, you probably always take Russell Wilson blindly.
Yep.
So 3 is probably right. Okay.
The Arizona Cardinals go to Los Angeles to play the Rams This will be a good game.
Yeah.
What do you have this at?
I had the Rams laying 7.
Whoa.
To all the people who think I'm a hater.
Wow.
I have
I'm
Rams
the
laying
hater.
7.
I'm the hater. I still hate the Rams, clearly. I have this at 4.5.
Yeah. I think.
So here's my take. The Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray, when Kyler Murray is healthy, are just always going to be a threat. Now, I probably didn't think enough about Cliff Kingsbury's inability to scheme anything ever. So that might be a problem. I'm probably overlooking that a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, 4.5 is a decent number of points. I'm probably short, though. What is it? It is I have to go back and see.
I think it's probably 7.5 now, even after what we saw today.
Yeah, so, well, no. It was 6.5.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, do you want to take – because I don't think you get – damn it. If this was Staley coaching the –
I see 6 now on Pinnacle.
Okay. If this was Staley coaching the Rams defense, I would lay the points of the Rams.
With the Rams.
Because I think Cliff is riding on the coattails of Murray right now, playing well, being healthy.
Yeah.
To the Arizona Cardinals' credit,
total 53.5.
Yeah. Feels kind of high.
Oh, really?
Yeah. To the point of
Cardinals defense is not stopping the Rams.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's be real.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. They look terrible against the team like the Vikings who have a good offense like the Rams do. Exactly. Okay, never mind. No under there. But I do think Kingsbury's still sort of short of what we want him to be. But at the same time, guys like Christian Kirk are stepping up unlike they did. They're winning games without DeAndre Hopkins doing much of anything right now, and that's, I think, a good sign for them.
That's also a concern going into this game if he's not healthy. Man, I am kind of tempted to take Arizona. I also don't feel great about teasing LA down to a pick. Next game, I am very curious to see what this line is. Pittsburgh at Green Bay. I have Green Bay favored by 7.5.
Shit, I had 4.5. That was before today. Probably would add to that now.
Let's see here. Green Bay -7.
Okay.
Has our time to fade the Pittsburgh Steelers come and gone?
Yes, it is come and gone. I hope you got some Bengals. The best teaser, I said this on the air today, was to tease the Saints up to 8.5 and to tease the Cincinnati Bengals up to 8.5. You actually could have moneyline parlayed those two underdogs and won. But that was a good teaser. I also got a teaser with Falcons up to 8.5 and Bengals up to 8.5. But I think the time to fade Pittsburgh is now basically over. That line is probably if TJ Watt plays against this Joshua guy, right? Joshua Tree, as I call him, because he's tall. I mean, it does hurt the Packers' offense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has to.
What's the total on the game?
I don't see it.
Because they just played.
Yeah.
Plus, you don't know about Big Ben. You don't know. Big Ben could die any day now, so it's kind of when Kyle Shanahan was saying we're all day to day, he was mostly talking about Big Ben.
Where are we now? Baltimore, Denver. In Denver, 3-0 Broncos welcoming in the Baltimore Ravens. Would you have this at?
Baltimore -2.5. I think that's probably a little too generous to Baltimore.
Yeah, I had Denver getting 1 point. I thought I just didn't want to make it a pick. That's the other way around. Denver is 1 point favorite.
Denver's favored. I guess if you add up all the players, Denver's better team than Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Total of 45.
If you add up all the players, I can see a case for Denver. If you look at all the things that matter the most, I'll take Lamar over Bridgewater. I'll take Harbaugh over
Big Fangio
any day of the week. So that's kind of like that's kind of the balancing act here that you're playing.
Yeah, I kind of like Baltimore here. For all of the reasons you just said. Denver has played some not very good teams.
Yeah.
And
they also have Alexander Johnson at linebacker, and I kind of want to see him have to play Lamar, to be honest with you. Like, he's a decent player, but, like, I think, again, feasting a little bit off of some
what do you think about the over 45?
In Denver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't mind it at all, actually. Denver has played every game to the under so far.
Yeah.
Baltimore has played 2 games to the over, and then today they played under, of course. So
my take on it would be this. Baltimore in this game had the Hollywood Brown drops, you know.
But the issue is, though, right, like, who – if Denver's corners play as well as they are, who's getting open? And then so like to me it's now a two-part
running.
It's a two-part question. It's a because people got open against Detroit, but you and I could get open against Detroit.
Right.
It's then the catching of the football that's the problem.
True.
In Denver, for Baltimore to have success in the passing game, they got to get open, which is not going to be easy against Denver, and then they got to catch the ball, which is not going to be easy because of the Ravens. So I feel like this is a layoff and like learn something. Like if Denver wins this game and goes to 4-0, like legitimate content. Like they get a tiebreaker with Kansas City because it's a common opponent. But also like we just have to take them way more seriously because I feel like right now we're taking Denver moderately seriously, right? Mm-hmm. Given who they've played, and that's probably right.
Okay. We're on a Sunday night, Tampa Bay in New England. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers favored by 7.5 points.
I said Tampa 6.5.
It is Tampa 5.5.
And that's where it's been basically the whole time, right? Like because we talked about that parlay last week.
Why should we not blindly bet the Tampa Bay Bucs?
Belichick, spite. Spite's probably the reason to bet it because Brady has more control over this game than Belichick does. He has just as much spite, you'd imagine. So
I think he has more.
Yeah, probably. I mean, like,
I think the spite is all on Brady's side, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. Like Belichick, do you feel like so this is interesting, right? Do you have friends and if
No.
It's me, just say no. Like if it's me, do you have friends who are like and I feel like I'm actually the exact opposite. Do you have friends who just like who are who they are and like are sort of oblivious to sort of like how they're perceived at all by anybody?
Yeah,
like
I think everyone has those.
They just are who they are, and they're like, and they're not bad people. They're just like there's that social skill that they don't have, that where it's just like I am who I am, and if I have to run over 4 people on the way, it's what it is. That's to me, it's like Belichick. Like Belichick's like, I'm doing X, Y, and Z because I think it's right, and it would never dawn on me that this looks bad to Brady. You know what I mean? Like that. So I agree with you. Then Brady has more spite.
Here's the other thing. You know who's in an interesting spot in this game? Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And I'm a little worried about Mac Jones.
Well, so let's lay 5.5 with Tampa. That seems like too easy to me. Like, right?
Yeah, too easy, and which is why it'll definitely hit.
Total 49. Because Mac Jones is not playing well. Mac Jones is playing the most non-embarrassing of the 5 rookie quarterbacks so far.
No, that's Trey Lance.
No, I added Davis Mills.
Oh.
So, but that doesn't mean he's been good. In fact, I don't think he's been good at all. You know, so like, and plus Tampa Bay's defense is like New England's offensive line is not great. They lost Tooney. The Trent Brown's hurt. Like, you know, so like Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea.
One of the things that I'm most interested in my hypothesis in this game is that there will be a really strong Brady contingent in New England.
Yeah. Man, so no home field even.
I don't know. I mean, it'll be very interesting.
I mean, if you're a Pats fan, there's no way you hate Brady. No way. 0% chance you hate Brady, right? It's not. He didn't thumb his nose at you on the way out. He just they literally let him go, and he goes and wins the Super Bowl. And he never was he didn't do the Kevin Garnett thing. Be like, this one's for soda. He didn't do anything stupid like that. He's been a consummate professional, but it probably pisses him off a little bit that Belichick was so hardlined about the situation with him, right? So I like that one. What's Monday Night Football?
It's a great one. It's the Las Vegas Raiders, undefeated.
Los Angeles Chargers.
Going into Los Angeles to play the Chargers.
Okay.
So I was looking at this and I was going, the Rams had nice home field. I'm going to wait to see this one, okay? I think this will be in Los Angeles. There is a massive Raiders fan base.
The Raiders have been the Los Angeles Raiders longer than the Chargers have been the Los Angeles Chargers.
But this is going to be, plus everyone from Oakland that's still a Raiders fan is going to make this trip.
Yeah. Every year probably for the foreseeable
Every
future.
single fucking year. Freaking year. Gosh, dang it.
Darn it. It's like the hangover.
You know what we need is some more Brett Favre. Take the edge off.
Maybe. Was I favored when I went back to Green Bay the first time? Maybe. Did I throw the seam to Percy when the game was on the line? Probably.
His Monday night appearances.
Did I tell you about the time I saw him at the Super Bowl when we went? The dude was wearing some Wranglers.
I was walking right next to you.
Yeah, he was wearing some Wranglers with a Southern Miss women's volleyball T-shirt on.
Just supporting.
Do I support women's sports and women's volleyball? Of course.
I'm in their group chat.
Was I the reason Snapchat was invented? Probably.
We just share photographs. It's not a big deal. That was also, I wasn't trying to do an impression there. I was just trying to say photographs, and I'm so delirious I could barely get it on that. So I'm sorry. I think I'm going to be dramatically wrong here. I have the Los Angeles Chargers as a 1-point underdog in this game.
I think the Chargers are going to lay 2.5.
Wow. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite, minus 121.
Okay.
So basically 3.5.
So how does this happen? Do we take the Raiders plus 3 then, or we call it 3.5? Because you can probably buy to 3.5 minus something not egregious.
Yeah, LAC minus 3, minus 120.
Okay. All right. So we have
total on that game 52.5.
Looks fine. Okay. So here are our candidates. Okay. We have Kansas City minus 5.5 at Philly. Do we want to keep that still?
Sorry, say that one again.
We have Kansas. So back when you and I started betting, one of our first write-ups was week 2 of 2017. Kansas City was laying like 6.5 at home against Philly. Mm-hmm. Or do we come back 4 years later and do the same bet? Kansas City 5.5.
I'm here for it.
Okay, we'll keep that. Giants. Okay, there's enough good games on the board where I'm not betting Giants. I understand there's value there. I just don't want to bet. Do you want to take Daniel Jones?
I'm not dying to. I do think there's value there.
Okay, well we'll write. Okay,
we'll consider. We'll consider.
Yeah, who did I have? Giants, and they were road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At New Orleans. Okay, we'll keep that. Detroit plus 3.5 against Chicago. I don't want to be on the wrong side of Justin Fields playing well for the first time. That's my issue, right? Like if Nagy's so embarrassed, like this honestly is an on and off switch, right?
Yeah.
Hey, start calling the good plays. You know what I mean?
By the way, I'm seeing San Francisco is 3.5 in some spots right now.
Okay, do we want to take Seattle?
I don't know. That's tempting though.
Seattle as a dog has always been good, right? Like, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Washington at Atlanta under 49. I don't necessarily need to do that one.
Okay.
Do we add Seattle?
I think Seattle's interesting.
Got to bet against your Niners another day?
Yeah, right. That's interesting. So I was thinking about some teaser opportunities here. But now I don't know if I like. So I really like Baltimore. Teased out to 7, and Green Bay teased down to 1.5.
Yeah, but
not crossing 7 sucks.
Yeah, like, I just, you want to wait, right? Like these present themselves late, right? Don't force them, right? At this time last week, right, we had New Orleans was getting 3.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
if
true.
you bet that and it got down to 2.5, then you could tease it. I mean, I had a look ahead line on Cincinnati +7 against Pittsburgh this week, and that got all the way to 2.5 again. Same thing with Atlanta versus New York. Don't force the teaser. Literally, just stick with the Wong stuff. I think here.
Don't force the teaser.
Don't force the teaser.
I love Vegas getting 3.5.
Yeah, I do too.
That's sensational.
Okay, so let's what about it? What if we said these 4?
How about this? Our article will be out crack of dawn in the morning.
Okay.
It's already very, very late. We appreciate all of you for listening. If you were with us live, thank you very much for putting up with our delirious swearing. I'm sorry. I really am.
I think we had less swear words though than average in this episode, so ultimately
they just felt worse.
It felt worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all about feelings, and my feelings are hurt. To be perfectly honest with you, it was a very rough week. Okay? Let me ask you this. I wanted to ask you this at the beginning. I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have? Are you superstitious at all? Like, do you have anything to like try and get your mojo back?
No.
You don't have anything. Prayer.
I mean, like, no.
You gonna switch up soups tonight?
No.
Cream of mushroom coming your way.
To be honest with you, like the biggest bet I lost this week. Let me. So today I was conditioned because the biggest bet I lost this week was actually a CFL game, and I bet the British Columbia Lions -105 on the money line, and they had a 5-point lead, muffed a punt, gave up a touchdown, then scored a touchdown to get a 6-point lead. Don't go for 2, so they leave it at 6. Drive down the length of the field, miss a field goal, get an interception. Don't go for the equivalent of a 4th and 1, right? Then
you expect me to still be following this?
The BC Lions gave me one of the most excruciating beats I've ever had, and so everything that happened this week, I'm like zen about right now.
Incredible.
So
my biggest loss, in case anyone was wondering, was Tom Brady over 2.5 passing touchdowns.
But here's the thing, like, you can't like what I honestly want to ask the question because like. You can't. What were you like? It was a bad variance situation. Like if when you bet Tom Brady over 2.5 touchdown passes, what price did you get?
130
plus 130. It closed at minus like 110 or something like that, didn't it?
I don't know what it closed at. I didn't.
Like so you made a good bet. Like when I bet the BC Lions, I got like 15 cents of closing line value. And they should have freaking won the game.
And you're gonna feast with that. I mean, 15 cents closing line value. That's gonna.
And granted, there are gonna be bets where you don't get.
Christmas at the Eager household is gonna be awesome.
There are gonna be bets where you don't get close and you still win, and that's fine and that's good. You can't.
Yeah, and then
once the ball leaves your hand, you have no control over it.
And then there are bets like the ones I made today, which will mean I will have no close.
Yeah.
So
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and it is frustrating. But the point of the fact of the matter is, you're not gonna quit betting. And you
no,
and so you're are you going to change anything based on it? No, that was still a bet you would make every single time. There was never. What happened today that you go back in time? You're like, okay, what did I do? No, you just had a bad beat. Like it just happens.
Yeah. Well, I am going to do some things this week. I'm going to be doing a lot of sacrifice to the betting gods to help us get our mojo back. So all of you out there know I'm working for us, okay?
Okay, they better be I'm trying to remember which one it is. They better be Abel's sacrifices and not Cain's, okay? They better be worthy sacrifices at this point.
They'll be worthy sacrifices. I'll be doing them for all of you. We'll be back on Wednesday evening as usual. Thank you so much for hanging out. Love you all. Peace.